What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are here covering some first reactions and reviews for a recently released movie. This is a big one. I mean, this one's for the Fantastic Four First Steps. This is probably many of your most anticipated movie of the year, and for good reason. Obviously, we're getting the Fantastic Four in the MCU for the first time, but also just the implications this might have on the future of the MCU, and also just the hype behind it. But obviously, before we get into it, please do us a favor over here and click the like button if you end up enjoying this video, and subscribe and clicking that bell would mean the world. It would be greatly appreciated. But I mean, we got a ton of reactions to cover. The review embargo has lifted already, so you guys can go check like review sites if that's what you're into. It currently has, I think, like an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. Granted, that is a score that is aggregated, so you know, take it with a grain of salt. But I mean, we've got a bunch of reactions here that we are going to cover, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into it. This first one that we have comes from Brandon Davis, saying Fantastic Four First Steps has a lot of fantastic in it, yet feels it could be more. Visually, some of Marvel's best work ever, and more sci-fi than expected. Story didn't hook me as I'd hoped, but family beats land well. Action scenes are great. I wanted to love it. I liked it. So it seems like they weren't, you know, super overjoyed with the film, but really enjoyed it, which that's what I want. I don't want to go walk into a movie and walk out, you know, dissatisfied, or I don't ever want to go spend money to watch something bad. But he really enjoyed it, which is great to hear. We've got this group of reviews coming from the people over at the Movie Podcast. This one coming from Anthony, saying the Fantastic Four is simply fantastic. Marvel's first family shines with chemistry and charisma Stan Lee would be proud of. Visually incredible. The Fantastic Four dazzle from start to finish. Ben Grimm brings the heart. Silver Surfer is perfection. Matt Shakman delivers. One of Marvel's best. Love to hear it. The next one from the Movie Podcast comes from Daniel Baptista, saying the Fantastic Four First Steps is inspiring and the definitive take on Marvel's first family. Matt Shakman redefines a new era of Marvel with an adventure that is a cosmic storm of imagination and a future foundation for the MCU to build upon. It's a film proudly rooted in the comics and the spirit of the 1960s, brought to life through gorgeous visuals and incredible performances. Michael Giacchino's score is triumphant and easily his best work in the MCU. And then the last one from the people at the Movie Podcast comes from Shabazz, saying the Fantastic Four First Steps is extraordinary. The score is pure magic, the visuals are next level, and the cast chemistry is electric. It's bold, fresh, and unlike anything Marvel's done before. This is their next masterpiece. Wow, I love to hear that. Huge positives coming from those three, and talking about how refreshing it is, and that's the way it looked. You know, sure, it might have some similarities with the Marvel Studios production, but overall I think we all saw those trailers and thought, this looks like something new. This looks like Marvel trying to put their feet on the ground and do something that is both, you know, will please audiences, but also give them something that doesn't feel stale, which I love. But this next one comes from Matt Negley, a huge lengthy one, but he says, many will say the Fantastic Four First Steps is fantastic, and they'll be right for several reasons. The four main cast members are excellent, Michael Giacchino's lively score is instantly memorable, and the 60s retro futuristic production design and dynamic visual effects are a delightful treat rather than an eyesore. The story's focus on the theme of family can feel a bit overdone at this point in the MCU, and the villains aren't the most compelling, but the cast does a lot of heavy lifting to make you deeply care about these characters, the relationships, and the end of the world stakes they face. Combine that with Matt Shakman's snappy, confident storytelling. This is an intriguing and satisfying first step for Marvel's new team, easily the best depiction of this quartet on screen to date, as the MCU continues to regain control of the ship and steer it closer to Doomsday. Seems like they really enjoyed it as well and see it as a really positive step in the right direction for the MCU, which is something I think we've all really hoped for. And after Thunderbolts was really great, hearing that this might be great as well and that so many people are enjoying it is just, it's amazing. It just makes me so full of joy, because it takes me back to when the MCU was just dropping so much like heat in like that 5-year time span, where it was just nothing but great movie, great story, but also building up to something. And that's what we all want. But yeah, we've got a couple more to cover. So this next one comes from Law, and he says, Fantastic Four is solid like Ben Grimm. Marvel's first family has chemistry that is out of this world. The powers alone make for some great visuals, but the space sequences are quite breathtaking. If these are their first steps, I'm excited to see what steps they take next. Love to hear it. Another one that's very optimistic about the future of the MCU, and I think that's incredibly important. This next one comes from Eric Voss over at The New Rockstar, saying, I saw Fantastic Four First Steps. It's the most visually dazzling film Marvel Studios has made. Galactus rocks. He's enough of a reason to see this movie. There are other reasons, such as the music, the performances, the action, and the world. It's a step in the right direction for Marvel. That is like everyone is really complimenting the visuals of this film, which is so refreshing to hear, especially in an era where Marvel's visuals have gotten kind of bullied, kind of beaten, and their production has been stretched so thin, and that's kind of showed in the quality visually on their projects. And it's so great to hear so many people be so pleased with this film on a visual level. That makes me extremely excited. This next one though comes from Liam, saying, Fantastic Four is the most visually appealing MCU installment in years. Kirby lives up to the Sue Storm hype. The Ben/Johnny banter had me cheesing like crazy, and Pedro wowed me with his third act performance. There's something missing though. Liked. Wish I loved. That's interesting to hear. That's like the second person we've seen say they really wanted to love it, but I ended up kind of only liking it. That's interesting. I wonder what the qualms are and if it'll get kind of better on a rewatch, because that tends to happen. But this next one comes from Chris Parker over at 3C Films. Love the guy, amazing channel. I'm sure you guys are following him. He's amazing. But he says, Fantastic Four, the MCU nailed it. The stake haven't felt this high in a long time. All 4 members of the team played the roles exceptionally and shared perfect chemistry. Galactus is a spectacle that must be seen in IMAX. Best balance of tone in an MCU film. I loved so much about this. That's some big words. Best balanced tone in an MCU film is big. Sure, you have your outliers that kind of can lean a little too kooky. You have your Thor Love and Thunders, you have your The Marvels and your Quantumanias, but then you have movies that are fairly serious, like your Winter Soldiers and your kind of Iron Mans, even though those are pretty comedic as well. But yeah, there's been movies that really do this balance, the Avengers Infinity War, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and this balance of seriousness but also some levity. So saying that is very high praise, to me at least. But yeah, we're gonna cover a couple more and then wrap this up. This next one coming from Nick, saying the Fantastic Four is, pun intended, fantastic, and the best pure MCU film since Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And that's not hyperbole. The story is clear, tight, and the family dynamic is so emotionally effective. Giacchino's score rocks, visually astounding, Galactus was great, and it's just the right amount of everything. Vanessa Kirby ate and left no crumbs. Kirby and Stan would be proud of this one. Love to hear that. This next one that we're covering comes from Sean Chandler, another dude with an amazing YouTube channel. You guys should go and support him. He says, The Fantastic Four is a breath of fresh air for the MCU. It delivers all the humor and action you want, but it has its own cinematic language and vibe. It features some of the best world building in the MCU. You want to spend more time with these characters exploring this world. Big win. And that's great to hear. You know, the world building aspect is something that I've been very curious about. You know, Matt Shakman might not be your, you know, insanely huge blockbuster director that's out here making $200 million movies every couple years. But one thing he did in WandaVision was really flesh out characters and kind of a world, and from the trailers it felt like that's what I was getting. They brought on the Loki production designer who was amazing on this film. I mean, if you look at the sets, they look absolutely phenomenal, and then pair that up with how Matt Shakman directs his performances and how he can get really good chemistry with his actors and just performances all around. I have high hopes, and I'm so glad to hear someone really commend the world building. This next one comes from Adam Hlavic from Heroes of Forge, another great channel. He says, Fantastic Four plays it safe at times, revisiting familiar beats, but elevates them in a big way. High stakes, real emotion, and Vanessa Kirby steals the show. Gorgeous production, great score, great Kubrick/Nolan inspired visuals, a must see in IMAX. Well, I'm watching in IMAX, so I personally cannot wait. This next one though comes from Zach Pope saying, Fantastic Four is just fantastic in about every way you would want. A story that develops the family to incredible heights, giving each member a moment to shine. Incredible score that highlights each moment, and another building block for the future of the MCU. I love hearing that. Anytime someone's complimenting this movie for the future of the MCU, it gives me chills. It reminds me of when the MCU was at its height. I love that. But we're gonna cover a couple more and then wrap this up though. This one coming from Jermaine Lucier saying, watched Fantastic Four with a smile on my face the whole time. It's just got a very simple, pleasant tone and pacing that coasts on the performances and chemistry of the leads. That energy doesn't always match with the bigger story, but it still works way more than not. Seems like they really enjoyed it as well, even though they might not have been as high on it as others. But then we're going to wrap this up with this last one coming from Austin Burke saying, Marvel's Fantastic Four is a family-first spectacle with massive stakes, perfect casting, and a retro-futuristic vibe that allows this movie to breathe on its own. It absolutely nails the tone and feels so stylistic, dishing out comic references left and right. The biggest highlight, as expected, is Michael Giacchino's top-tier score. This theme is already iconic, but feels even more impactful with context. I love to hear that. So many people talking about the stakes of this movie, which I think, you know, really it makes me excited, but also them putting this movie in its own universe allows it to do that, and that's why that was such a great idea. I cannot wait for this movie. I see it tomorrow in IMAX, so you'll know my thoughts probably next week, I guess, where we'll probably do either a review or cover July on a podcast, because we do kind of want to do the whole Superman, Jurassic World, Fantastic Four coverage. But yeah, I'm so pumped for this, looking forward to it. But you guys, tell me in the comments below, how excited are you for the Fantastic Four? Are you a fan? Are you not? Are you gonna go see this? Are you not? What are you most excited about? Do you like any of the previous versions of the Fantastic Four? I think they do got kind of a not super high, but they kind of got a high bar to pass with Ben Grimm and Johnny. But I cannot wait. Yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments below. As always, I love discussing with you all. And if you made it this far and you haven't, please like the video, subscribe, and click that bell. It helps us out a ton, and it will be greatly appreciated. But other than that, it's been your boy Keezy, and hopefully I will see you all in the next one.